And it's a nice, easy start this morning, which is good. We like those type of classes. We're going to take a seated position on the block. It's going to take a few minutes to settle ourselves in, and then we'll practice a little bit of breath work as well. So the first part of this is really just sort of getting the hips to open and getting the seat in the most beneficial place for us to be. We're looking for what we explain as a neutral pelvis, so it's not tilting forwards, backwards, or sideways excessively. And there's a feeling of lightness in the spine as you sit up rather than having to kind of work against gravity. Now, if you do spend a lot of time in a posture where you're sort of hunched over a laptop or a desk for really long periods of time, then just stretching up can feel like it's a lot of work because those muscles are having to contract at the back and then having to release at the front, and they've just spent hours stuck in one position, so it can feel a little bit awkward. Hopefully, as your progress through a more regular practice, the body remembers how sitting in a neutral position feels, so you can kind of switch into it more quickly. But if you're very new to yoga, or you've had a particularly bad day crunched up in a ball trying to work on something, concentrating and not thinking about your breathing and moving around, then it might take a little longer. So that's what these couple of minutes are for, just to let ourselves settle. And then we're going to start to think about our breath. So we're going to shift our concentration more internally. Now we're going to practice something called breath ratio breathing. So as you breathe in, take a normal breath and count internally. And then let it exhale. And do that a couple of times. Just breathe and count on the in. See where you get to. Now, the reason we take a few breaths is because there's a good chance that your first, second, and third breath might be different in length. Average them out. Whatever that is, allow yourself to breathe in for that period of time, counting at the same speed, and then see if you can exhale out for twice as long. So if you got to 3, you'll get to 6, and then let yourself breathe in again. You want that breath to be smooth, and we try not to overinflate the chest, rib cage, lungs, diaphragm, or excessively squeeze it back in. It still wants to be in that sort of neutral, calm place where you can breathe, but you're just changing the ratio. And we'll take the final exhale. And then we're going to move from this seated posture onto our hands and knees. We'll just move the block out to the side. And I'm going to take the knees as wide as the mat. You can have the toes untucked or tucked, your choice. And we're going to take a posture called cat's paws. So we're going to have the hands directly underneath the shoulders and spread the fingers out and press the knuckles of those fingers down into the floor. So for most of us, this will feel like quite a stretch in the hand. And then we're going to turn the fingers gently so that they point outwards and the thumbs are forwards. And again, we lean into the wrists. Try and spread the fingers out. Really connect those knuckles into the ground. We'll feel tight around the wrists. You'll be lifting the tendons and muscles as you do this. And then we're gently taking it to the next level, where we bring the heel of the hand forwards and have the fingers pointing towards us. Now you can take the hands as far forwards as you feel comfortable. And for some people, that would be vertical. For some people, the hands will be quite a long way forwards. We've all got a different range of movement in the wrists. What we're looking for is that nice juicy stretch down the front of the forearms. Relatively low, it's probably in the sort of the bottom half where the stretch feels. And then we'll slowly unpeel the hands from there. Take the hands forwards and come up onto all fours for a little round of cat-cow. So just easing in, chest forwards, tailbone up, belly in. Draw the belly in a little further as you exhale and round it up towards the sky. Let the head drop and press into the shins just a little. Doesn't have to be big. We're just getting some juice into the discs, getting the muscles to free up a little bit. Working with the breath. A little more connected with the moment that we're in, transient as it is. Let's sit back into child's pose. Bring the hands underneath the forehead. Breathe into the diaphragm. So I'm starting to feel not only the ribs expand a little bit, but the space between the ribs and the hips in the back. It's a little stretch out, a little flush. And we'll slowly lift up from there. Bring our fingers up to the front of the mat. We're going to lift into down dog, so you can tuck the toes in and take a sort of a fairly low approach to that, just lifting the knees away from the ground and then easing the hips up towards the sky. If you want to step it out a little bit further and make the dog a bit wider, you can. And we're going to walk that dog out. See how the shoulders feel, how the hamstrings feel, how the calves, feet feel. Remember, this is very much like stretching out the fingers at the beginning for the toes. And the feet, we're stretching out that arch of the foot, that big shock absorber that carries us through the day. Okay, we're going to take a little wavy plank here. So we're going to slowly soften the knees and then lift the hips up, draw the belly in so the spine rounds, and then press ourselves into a plank. We'll take high plank
And keeping the core engaged, we lift back up to down dog. And we soften the knees. Roll the spine up towards the sky as you draw the belly in, exhaling forwards into that plank and lifting back again. And soften the knees. Nice, round it back, rippling through the spine and slowly back. Now we'll take the feet wide once we arrive in our down dog and walk the hands back into a forward fold, and we're going to bend the knees as we arrive, letting the knees track the feet. They're turning out a little bit, so head down low. So we're kind of into a free flow squat, I guess you could call it. And then we're going to ragdoll back out. So we're just going to press into those thighs, keep the belly drawn in, lift the chest, the arms, taking the breath towards the sky, bringing the heart in. And then folding forwards. Now folding forwards with the feet slightly wider and out does feel a bit strange after years of standing up from Uttanasana. So ragdoll formation, wider stance, a little bit strange in the body. We'll come down again. Notice that I allow the hands to come to the floor quite early and forwards, and then soften the knees. Let the head hang down, drop into that space, drive through. I'll take one more because it feels good. As we arrive, we'll just let the feet zigzag in, taking the hands towards the sky and above the shoulders. The hands will stop, and we'll take that into a little back bend. So we'll press the hips back, feet down, draw the arms towards the back of the mat, lift the arms up out of the sockets, draw them up towards the sky, and then bring them back, hands in towards the heart, hinge forwards. Now the feet are close together, so that feels very different in our forward fold. We're just working in sort of different muscle threads in the hamstring, just pulling them slightly different directions by changing the feet position. Hands onto the hips, soften the knees and lift up. We'll take that one more time. Into the back bend. Release the hands down, come back into the forward fold. And we'll soften the knees a lot, squeeze the thighs together, bring the hands away from the floor, and we'll move into chair pose. So from the ground up we come. I bring the hands in towards the heart and take a revolved version of that. So we'll bring the right elbow across to the left side, draw the chest forwards, turn the head. Remember to breathe. Try and open the shoulders out a little bit. And slowly come around to the other side. And back into the center. Allows us to take the arms wide, draw ourselves back up, hands into the heart. Now exhale forwards into that forward fold. Now rather than bring the hands onto the hips, we'll just take them out wide. Soften the knees and lift up. It's stronger into those lower back muscles, the glutes. Need to protect the knees a little more, so really focus on that little micro bend in the knees as you lift up. Do that again.
long flat back, then lift up, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and we'll come down for a third one. And bring the hands into the heart, shake it all out. We'll step up towards the front end of the mat. Arrive with the feet about hip distance apart. Bring the hands into the heart. We'll exhale down to the floor. Into that nice forward fold. And take the right foot to the back of the mat. And let the knee come down to the floor, untap the toes. Allow myself to bring the hands alongside the body as I lift the chest a little bit. Then I'll draw the hands forward in line with my torso, palms facing in. And then I'll turn the tailbone down and let that lift the body up into a nice vertical line. So rather than trying to lift the shoulders back up towards the sky, the activity actually comes from this sort of lower back and the tailbone pressing down towards the floor, drawing the belly in, and it just counter levers us up. I'm going to bring the hands down to the floor and step back into down dog. We'll float into a plank. Going to bring the knees to the floor. Keep the toes tucked under. Bend the elbows backwards. Let the chest come to the floor. Slide the feet back. And then low cobra. Inhale it up. And exhale it down. Inhale it up. Exhale it down. There's two more. Little squeeze of the shoulder blades together. Now we'll bring the hands down to the bottom of the ribs, squeeze the shoulder blades back, press into the floor. Just tuck the toes underneath and sit back onto the heels. So we're almost in that child's pose position. And again, from here, if you want to, you can press the knees away from the ground, or you can come forward into tabletop and lift, your choice. We'll draw the right knee in towards the chest into the lunge. Come up onto the fingertips and lift the chest, press out through the back heel. And then press off the toes, forward fold. Hands onto the hips, soft knees and a flat back to lift. We'll step forwards as we take the hands up towards the sky, making sure the feet are hip distance apart and parallel. And then we're able to hinge back down to the floor. You take the left foot back. You choose whether you tuck the toes or not. Bring the hands alongside the torso as you lift the chest off the thighs. Take the hands forwards in line. Draw the tailbone down. Press into that front thigh. Lift yourself up tall. And then we'll bring the hands down to the floor. We're stepping back into our down dog. And forwards into our plank. Knees come down. Elbows bend back. Chest between the hands. Slide the feet away. Now this time bring the hands down towards the bottom of the ribs so you can squeeze your elbows a little closer in. When you're not going to put any weight into the hands, it's still low cobra, lifting up. Squeezing the shoulder blades back a little bit. Exhaling down.
Inhale in. Exhale down. 3 more. And then hopefully those hands are in the place where you can press back away from the floor. Sit back onto the heels as you touch the toes. You choose how hard you want to make it for yourself to lift back into your down dog. How much work do you want to do? How much work do you need to do? Maybe this is a day to take things a little easier. You will draw the left knee in this time, bring that through for the lunge. Up on the fingertips, we lift the chest, drop the hips, press out through the back heel. Push off the toes towards our forward fold. Sink it in as you exhale. Hands onto the hips, inhale it up. We'll bring the hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. We'll take the right foot to the back of the mat. And we're going to keep the knee from the ground. Make sure the right hand is flat to the floor. Take the left hand forwards. We're going to rotate into a nice juicy twist. Press the hand into the floor. Stretch the fingers to the sky. Press out through the back heel. Squeeze the inner thigh to the center line. I'm going to bring the hands to the floor. Stepping back into our down dog. Float into our plank. Lower the knees. Bend the elbows back. The bum stays high. Then we slide those legs back. We draw the hands to the bottom of the ribs. Squeeze the elbows together. Inhale, lift up. Exhale down. 4, 3, 2, 1. And press back into that low sitting child's pose. Let yourself lift into your down dog. Draw the right knee in towards the chest. Back into lunge. Press off the toes as you exhale. Hands onto the hips. Now lift up. Step up to the front of the mat if you've traveled around a little. Hands high. Through the heart. Exhale down. The left foot back into the lunge. Plant the hand. Right arm comes forwards. We stretch it out. There's a few breaths here. Time to adjust and refine. Try and relax the shoulders, but stretch out through the fingertips. Want that deltoid to have a little bit of a chance to relax. We'll bring the hand back down to the floor. Back into down dog. Float into plank. Lower the knee. Bend the elbows. Chest down, thighs away. Hands down to the bottom of the ribs. Inhale up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Press away from the floor. Tuck the toes under, sit onto the heels. Into your down dog, your choice. Draw the left knee in, come into lunge. Press off the toes into the forward fold. Hands onto the hips and lift up. Inhale high. We'll bring it down to the floor and step back into our down dog. And then come straight onto the knees. Sit back onto the heels. Let yourself sit up tall. And the arms out wide. Bring palms above. Interlace the fingers and the index finger lifts. We're going to come into swan flow. So we're going to stretch those shoulders up towards the sky a little bit more. Draw the belly in as you exhale. Slowly bring yourself down to the floor. Separate the hands. Roll the spine back up to that nice seated position. Inhale. And exhale down again. Try to control the speed that you come down with. Muscle memory will build quite quickly in this. And try and stay as long and flat as we can for as long as possible. But 2 more. And last one. Now this time I'm going to roll back up. I'm going to take the hands behind us a little bit. So we're going to lean towards the back of the mat. Start to stretch the thighs open a little bit. We want to be in a position where we can place the heel of the hand to the floor, drawing the belly in a little bit. You can take a couple of breaths here just to allow the pelvis to kind of tuck itself under. You might want to lift the cheeks up a little bit and kind of move them around and make a little bit more space. And we're going to come into something called a camel flow. I think I'm a bit too close to my TV today, so you hear the loud clunk. That will be my fingers hitting the screen. We're going to lean a little bit into the left hand, take the right hand away from the floor, draw that across the body. Let the eyes follow the fingertips. So as the hand goes back, the eyes and the head will roll round. I bring the hand back to the floor, come back into my starting position, lean a little bit over to the right. That left arm lift and roll round. Bring myself back gently. Roll it through. You can start to lift the chest up a little bit more, as long as it feels okay in the back of the neck. Otherwise, you could kind of just limit to how far back you take that hand. You know, we're trying to open things up rather than strain them. And we'll take it across last side. And then push into the fingers to lift up. Bring the hands into the front of the mat. Lift up onto all fours, tuck the toes underneath. Come up onto the tip toes. So it's like down dog with a tiptoe version. And then we can just bring the feet slowly in towards the front of the mat. And we're ready to bring the hands onto the hips, draw the shoulders back and lift. We'll take the hands up towards the sky on the breath in and into the heart. Hold there for a second just to let the breath settle. Literally, it's just a few seconds.
I'm going to take a little breath from here. I'm going to soften the knees so that they feel like they're more over the toes. I'm going to shift the weight into my left leg, slide my right foot back into a lunge. Bring hands onto the front thighs just so you can check your knees over your ankle. And we're going to come into warrior two. So you want to think about the position of the back foot and then drop the heel in. When you feel safe to open up, bring the hands across the front of the body and out. So you take a little time to rotate from a neutral position in the hip to an external rotation. Take a little breath from here. Float forwards over the front thigh to extended side angle. So bring the forearm down. We're going to take the arm over towards the front of the mat. Now we're going to try and keep the spine, including the head, all in one plane. So there's a nice line, imaginary or not, between fingertips and heels, and everything lines up in between. So there's a little bit of lift off of that front forearm. And then we'll slowly bring ourselves back up into warrior two. Turn the palm on the front hand and we'll move that into reverse warrior. So we're slowly going to lengthen that out. Now as you arrive in your reverse warrior, you're going to slowly press into the front foot and open that leg out completely. Come back in to a warrior two shape. Pass through that as we send the hips towards the back of the mat and open it out into triangle pose. I'm going to take the top hand towards the front of the mat, then turn the torso down as I bend the front knee. Bring both hands onto the inside of the front foot. Walk the fingers around to the long side. Turn the toes in a little bit. Plant the right hand on the floor. Turn the body to the left. And draw the elbow and the hand up towards the sky. Bring it back down to the floor. Turn the body to the right. Extend the arm out. Open it up. Bring it through. So we do this gently enough that rotation is happening in the body from the core, sort of solar plexus area, and that as we lift the hand up, it's an extension of the arm rather than drawing the shoulder back roughly and aggressively. Pretty much keeping the shoulder in line with the chest. We'll come down and take it to the back of the mat for the last time. Ease the hand down. We're going to walk the fingers around to the front of the mat. Into our lunge. Plant the right hand to the floor. Twist to the left, opening the hand. Bring the hand back down to the floor. Come up onto the fingertips. Bring the hands alongside the body as you lift your torso. Take the hands forwards. Ease yourself up. So that tailbone down, body lifts for 1, 2, 3. Hands back to the floor. Step it into the front of the mat. Bring the hands onto the hips. Ease our way back up. Hands high. Into the heart. You might need to realign the toes. And then soften the knees. Shifting the weight into the right leg this time. Take the left leg back into the lunge. And bring the hands onto the thighs to check your front knee position. Think about where your back foot feels like it needs to land. Turn the heel down for warrior two. Open the body to the side. Take the hands up. Now again, we'll extend side angle. So we'll lengthen over the front thigh. Forearm comes down, chest is opening, palm stretches out. I'm trying to get the top arm and the ear pretty close together. Chest opening to the side. Remember to keep a little bit of weight in the back foot. Come back up into warrior two, slow. Turn the palm on the front hand for that reverse warrior. Find our position. Slowly press into the front leg to open it up. Come back into the star shape. Looks a little bit like warrior two. Send the hips back. Extend out. Bring the hands into our triangle pose. Because of the entry pattern, my hand isn't that low down on the shin. It's where it finds a comfortable place to be. Now take the top hand, extend that out towards the front of the mat. Soften the front knee, turn the chest down to the floor slowly, bring the hands onto the inside of the thigh. Walk the fingers round again, just as we did before. Turn the toes in and the heels out. Again, we're just working on the twist. So right hand to the floor, just as we did before. Rotate. Extend out the arm. Bring it back down. Cross over. Just following the breath. Inhale on the way down. Exhale to open up. Try and keep a little focus on the legs. Squeezing the thighs together as the feet press down. Take it one more time to each side. Walk the fingers around to the front end of the mat again. Into the lunge. Plant the left hand. Right arm comes up into the twist. Fingers come back down to the floor. Into the lunge. Put the hands alongside the body. Then float the arms out. Draw the tailbone down. Lift the body high. Find your balance. For 1, 2, 3. Back into the lunge. Step it forwards. Take a little breath. Hands onto the hips. And the lift up. Couple of rounds of vinyasa. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale it down. Step it back into down dog. Come into plank. Breath in. Half plank. To up dog. Back into down dog. Jump or step to the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips and lift. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale back. Step into your down dog. Float into plank. Half plank. Up dog. Down dog. Your choice again to jump or step to the front of the mat.
Hands onto the hips and we lift up. Inhale high. And come to the floor again, forward fold. Taking the right foot to the back of the mat into the lunge. Now, I'm going to keep the heel tucked, or the toes tucked under so the heel is higher. Bring the fingers back behind the line of the heel, and we're going to slowly sit back onto the rear heel. Going to pivot on the front heel. Try and keep the body square to the front of the mat. So you'll notice as you do this, this has a tendency to sort of lean out to the sides. And try and keep the weight even on both feet, both hands rather. Front leg, toes are up towards the sky, so it's a straight leg. You lift the chest up and out, so you're trying to get the spine to be nice and flat. Last breath here. Bring that forwards. Let the hands travel in. Step it into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips and we'll lift up. Inhale high, we'll take the second side. When you're ready, you exhale back slowly down the center line of the mat. That front heel will draw towards you as you sit down. Try and keep the spine nice and long. Go around a little bit. Try and relax the shoulders. It will make a significant difference to how tight you feel in the top part of the body. And then it gives you a bit more space to breathe. And then we'll come forwards again. Bring the hands to the front of the mat. We're just stepping it back into down dog. And then we'll move into a plank. And let the knees come to the floor. Going to thread the needle. So we're taking the right hand up towards the sky and opening the chest. I'm going to float that underneath and bring the shoulder and ear to the floor. Now, if it feels safe in your neck and your shoulder to do so, we'll take the left hand away from the ground and lift it up towards the sky. If it doesn't feel good in your shoulder and the neck, follow your instincts and keep your hands on the floor. We are pressing the shoulder into the ground a little bit to lift away, so we're keeping strength in the neck, we're not collapsing into it. One more breath. Hands come down, and then everyone can press away from the floor. We'll take a breath in the center. And then we'll take that left hand up. Open up the spine, wrap it under. You could even take the first and second phases differently on each side if you wanted to. Not a problem with that. You don't have to mirror both sides. Again, just evaluate how it feels. Now, I do find this side stronger to do than the first side. I don't know if that's just my body. Not everyone gets that. Mostly caused by the fact that ribs are different sizes on each side. And then everyone can bring the hand down. And we press away. We're going to sit back into child's pose, taking the knees wide, toes together. I have the hands out in front. I'm not going to come all the way down to the floor because I'm going to take another twist. I'm going to take that right hand this time, palm facing down. Thread that underneath and lay down the shoulder and ear to the floor, and then walk the left hand as far forward as I can. And then we'll slowly lift up. And take the opposite hand out. And the palms facing down. And then we'll walk out the top hand as far forward as we can. And we'll walk the fingers back in. As ourselves lift up. We're going to just come to a seated position. And, oh, there it is. Found the block. Need that in a minute. Let ourselves roll the spine down gently. I'm going to just take the arms out to the side for a quick spiral twist in the different part of the spine. So we'll walk the feet in, offset the hips a little over to the left, and then let the legs roll down to the right. I'm going to draw the knees a little closer in, and then let my right hand come on top of the thighs, just to give a little bit more weight to that IT band on the left. And now release. Bring the knees slowly back up. Find the center again. Offset to the right. Drop down to the left. Once I arrive, I draw the knees a little closer so I can take that left arm and just drape it across that right thigh. And just feel a little more stretch into the right IT band now. At this point, you start to appreciate how heavy your arms are. And we'll release, bring knees back in. We're going to come into bridge pose, but we're going to take that block and just put that between the thighs. So we want to have the heels more or less underneath the center of the knees. And because we're using a block, that's quite a narrow stance, so you'll feel a bit of difference maybe from your normal position if you have a wider setting. We'll let the hands come down by the side of the body, and then we're going to press the forearms, press the triceps into the ground. Bend the arms so the forearms lift towards the sky. Got little robot arms going on, palms facing. Stretch out through the fingers to try and get as much of a gap between your little finger and your big finger, which I think is called your thumb in some places. You can draw the belly down towards the spine and the lower back into the floor, and then tuck the tailbone away, press into the shoulder blades, lift up. Keep spreading those fingers, pressing the arms back. Be careful they don't slide out to the sides too much. Get the chest to feel like it's opening up. You're going to press the knees forwards and send the buttocks in the same direction. This is a very strong feeling in the bridge, like there's a lot of energy being used. And then we're going to roll back down and let everything just dissipate and release. Going to let the hands come back down. Oof. Couple of breaths. So we're not going for super high, but we are going for lots of energy. So really working those arms into the ground, spreading the chest, lengthening the legs out.
bring ourselves back in again. So bring the hands alongside the body, bend at the elbows, spread out through the fingers, get that big gap, little finger to thumb. Start to draw the belly down, tailbone lifts, ease the heels up, lengthen away. Squeeze the elbows together underneath a little bit. Press the shoulder blades into the floor. Keep the belly tight. Squeeze on the block a little. And last breath in. And then relax everything gently back down to the floor. And I'll take the block and just place that behind the back of the head. And whilst we're in this position, I'm going to take the right leg in towards the body and just take the hands around the back of the thigh. And then I extend that leg up towards the sky. Foot is flexed and lengthened out. I'm going to slide the left heel out, internally rotate the thigh a little bit as I flex the foot. And then I'll bring everything back in. Swap it over to the opposite side. So extend the leg out. Allow yourself to feel grounded and connected. Slide out the right heel. Flex, get both legs working. Remember that little internal rotation in the thigh to the center line. Pull the belly in a little bit. And then release. Just time for happy baby. So the knees come in wide, chin comes into chest, slide the fingers down the shins, wrap around little toes, allow the spine to rest back to the floor. So that's the head and the tailbone. And then when you're ready, you're going to take the feet gently towards the sky, knees towards armpits. Try and relax the shoulders away from the ears. And then we'll release one foot at a time to the floor. And take our Shavasana. So we'll slide the heels out to corner edges. Hands alongside the body, just a little gap between the thighs and the hands. Wiggle the shoulders round, wiggle the hips out. Get everything to feel nice and long. And then on a big open mouth exhale, let everything sink back into the floor.
And gently breathe a little deeper as you stretch your fingers and toes. And the wrists and the ankles join in. Take a deeper breath so that you can use that for a stretch. And then when you're ready, you're going to slide the heels back in towards the body. And give yourself a bit of a hug, whatever that looks like, what shape, form it needs to take. Just follow your instincts. And then we'll all draw ourselves down to the right side into a little ball. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll use the hands on an exhale. Open it back up, lift up from the floor. Come into sitting. Hands into the heart as you close your eyes, breathe deep. And then gently bow the head. Draw the belly to the spine and bow to the floor to seal your patches. Let the breath come back in. Let the spine build. Head lifts, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day.